All right, so for the next two assignments, we'll have assignment 7.0. This will be an in-class assignment. It'll be very simple. Once I'm done with this lecture, I'll go ahead and link it here under this link right here, watch the recorded lecture. I've left some photos of the camper trailer that we've made in the past. These are all the process photos during that time. So we'll go over that for a little bit. But back to assignment 7. We're going to get started on designing a small camper trailer in FrameCAD. And the things I want you guys to research starting today will be modular utility trailers. Go ahead and Google search that. Look it up on Harbor Freight, any place that sells trailers. What I want to make sure to emphasize is find photos that have actual dimensions of the trailer itself, right? Because if it doesn't have the dimensions on there, it's just going to give you some pretty generic overall dimensions, and that's not really going to be helpful, right? Because they might be measuring from wheel well to wheel well, or not necessarily building upon the wheel well, will likely be on the interior part, the actual platform part. So box stores like Harbor Freight sell them affordably and in different sizes. You're going to pick one trailer. You're going to make sure that there are plenty of pictures and dimensions. I want to make sure to emphasize that you should save these specs on your flash drive or on Google Drive. Print it to PDF, screenshot it, but make sure you save it somewhere in your folders so that way you can access it later on. Okay? Because moving forward for the next couple of weeks, you'll want to make sure you have those correct dimensions. You're going to be researching camper trailers. So what is a camper trailer? What are the basic needs for someone who wants a camper trailer? Imagine that you're the primary user of this camper trailer. What characteristics would you want it to have? Does anybody here camp? Anybody like to overland? Anybody like to off-road? Go on out in the deserts? Out in the forests? Cool. My kind of people. So, research what types of passive systems can be incorporated into your design, right? There are solar panels, there's drainage and water storage, and what kind of kitchen might you have? I'm sure you would want to cook while you're out there. If you have solar, do you have a battery? How long do you like to be out there in the desert for? One day? One weekend? Can you be out there for a week, 2 weeks, right? What is your preference? And I want you to design for your own preference. So passive water containment. Research, there's like a passive solar water storage. You can even DIY that kind of thing, and it's basically a big black tube. Fill it up with water. You can even pressurize it before your trip. Right? You can, if you get an air compressor and just add some pressure in there, by it being up above on your camper trailer, it could actually trickle down through gravity very easily, so you can take a little shower, right? Or rinse off your boots. If you pressurize it before your trip, you can actually have pressured water, and you can wash your dishes and everything. That's kind of a luxury. Are there solar panels? What's this kitchen space like? How large of a mattress can you fit in there? What's comfortable for you? What mattress size do you like? How many people are sleeping on this mattress? Is it just you? You have a partner? Do you have a kid, a dog, a cat? Ventilation, right? Probably want some openings in this thing so we can sit in our nice shaded little camper trailer and let some wind passively just come through our trailer. Insulation. Is there a way we can insulate these panels? Look up different types of insulation. There's rigid foam insulation. There's denim. There's rigid board insulation like OXIS. Look up OXIS. That's a great rigid foam and sheathing type of insulative panels. They're basically construction plywood with a small layer of foam, so it actually gives you some shear properties, keeping your camper trailer really nice and straight and rigid, as a rigid box, but also it has insulative properties, keeping the hot out, keeping the cool in, vice versa. Would your camper trailer have windows? Would it have any doors, etc.? So tonight your assignment will be to create a minimum of 1 plan and 4 elevation sketches. You could do this in your sketchbook. You could do this on a scrap piece of paper. I just want to make sure that you're thinking about it in all types of views, just like we practiced in the beginning of the semester. All right? And get yourself ready to 3D model this in the next step, right? The next step in this process would be, let's explore the stuff in Rhino. Let's use some basic 2D drafting, some basic 3D modeling to bring our project to life before we even go and use any of the steel from the FrameCAD machine. For full credit, make sure your file's named properly when you turn this in. I'm expecting just initial sketches, but high quality, good lighting. Don't put your shadow in that image, all right? Make sure you're not in the image. Don't get it at an angle, right? Straight down if you can. Scan it, that'd be nice, but only high quality screenshots or JPEGs or PNGs, okay? So I'm gonna go through now and talk a little bit about the camper trailer that we had designed back in about 3 years ago now. Wow. So yeah, it's been a while. Here's Roseanne fixing a few jams right away. Here's the FrameCAD decoiler. So here's where our assembly area was, just right out here in the hallway. Right, it wasn't very big. Here's one thing to consider when you're making these kinds of things. It's not a great idea all the way to the end to build this thing inside of the building, right? At this stage, you can bring all these steel pieces in through the door, right? All those little steel pieces are so small, right? As you start to fix them together, the project gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And unfortunately, this building does not have any entry doors that are garage doors. There are garage doors in this building, but they are like interior garage doors. There are no garage doors to get outside of the building, except for maybe like CNC manufacturing, and architecture has one, wood shop has one, but let that be a consideration. Yeah. The project will get bigger as you go along. All right, so here we are doing it in the hallway. Lots of light. It's a conditioned space, so we weren't out there in the beating hot sun. Here's a photo of a few of my friends during that project. There's Jen, Francesco, and that's one wall. Okay, and that's what I want you guys to think about when you're doing these projects in FrameCAD. Is you have 2 types of panels to think about. One type is a wall, right? It's a vertical panel that goes up and down, just like any wall does. Another type of panel is a horizontal one, or sometimes a sloped one, okay? Those are the 2 types of panels I want you to think about. Once you start to think in those terms, building a camper trailer is really easy. It's a box. It's a very small building on wheels. That's it. That's all it is. Okay. The frame that you choose, that camper trailer frame that you choose, that's going to determine the overall width and length of your camper trailer. It won't dictate the height. Okay. But the height will be dictated by what kind of car you have, how much weight you want to put at the back end. Freeway overpasses, right? You got to get under the freeway bridges, right? So you don't want anything too tall. This is a little door opening right there. You see that header, that webbed header that's in there? That was just a detail added in FrameCAD Detailer. We just said, hey, this is an opening, and it said, all right, we'll frame it as such. Okay, here we are. We've walked it through our garage doors into the Tech 151. We've got the trailer inside. We've got it leveled. We started off with a whole sheet of plywood. So just to have a subflooring. I think we went with either 3/4 inch or 1 inch thick plywood on the bottom. And then we built our FrameCAD panels around it or on top of it. One unique thing that we did for this specific project was instead of putting these walls directly on that plywood, we actually mounted it to the side of the frame, which we did that because we wanted to fit a queen-size mattress inside, which we did. But the disadvantage of that is that you need some really good brackets, some steel brackets that mount to the underside of the trailer and then clip on to the bottom side of those walls. And if you think about that, buildings are not built in that way, right? They're not just like hopefully sitting on little teeny tiny brackets. Like walls are usually built right on top of foundation walls or a concrete slab or anything, not some accessory little bracket or something, right? So there's one wall already mounted. Once you get one wall, the other wall is usually the same shape. So you just print two, right? Super easy. We also had 2 doors into this thing. All right. Here is, we're not going to get to this in this class, but one thing I like to do in my projects is do a little 3D visualization of the thing, right? This is all just a rendering, right? I faked it to make it look like it's out in the deserts, out in Joshua Tree. I picked a vehicle that's very similar to Roseanne's vehicle, just to really sell the idea of what this thing could be. 2 doors, one here, one on the other side. We got a hatchback in the back. We have some cabinetry in the back for a little kitchenette. Okay, you can 3D model all of these things, save yourself some time and money, and not waste any of that steel out there, right? Because once you make it, it's not very editable. You can't just change all that steel later on in post. So there's the 2 walls right there, side by side. There's little cutouts right here, so that way the wall can jump over the wheel wells. We also had to upgrade the wheels of the camper trailer to some off-road tires. All right, there's Kat helping us out. There's Jen. Now it's starting to take a little bit more shape, right? So we have one wall here, one wall there, one wall all the way in the front. And then without this piece right here, it becomes this very wobbly thing at the end, right? So this really adds that extra rigidity, right? It says, you wall, you stay exactly right there, and you stay exactly right there. And as we go up and down a bumpy trail out in Joshua Tree, this thing is not constantly squeezing to and fro, right? This is Brian working on some of the electronics on the inside. Roseanne had also purchased a jackery. So think about using a jackery as your battery system. They're great little investments. There's several different models that you can buy that last longer, the more expensive it gets. They also have like these little foldable panels for solar that connect to the battery, so you can be charging this thing as you're out there. If you look in the back, you can see these little puck lights, right? So the idea would be that you have a queen-size bed on the inside, but maybe you want to read, right? So you got little lights that are flexible, right? Think about those things. Where would they be? Look at all the wiring that goes into those ideas. We finished the interior with some 1/4 inch plywood, which gave the look some warmth, but also gave it some extra rigidity. Anytime you mount some plywood onto a panel like that, it really creates that rigid box that we're always looking for. Got a little vent stack up at the top as well, right? Hot air arises, right? So if it gets hot in there, pop that thing open, hot air goes out. Right. This is actually the view from the back when the hatchback would be open. Right. This would be cabinetry on the interior, but also there'd be cabinetry in the kitchenette area. And the idea would be that you can actually pass items to and fro between exterior and interior spaces. Right. If you're in a relationship, maybe you want to cook some breakfast. You know, say, hey, honey, here you go. Careful, it's hot. Enjoy. Here's your coffee. All right. Got flashing. Right. You want to keep this. You want to keep a waterproof membrane around this thing. I'm not sure of the condition of that thing that's out there right now, but we didn't finish it. We didn't finish that exterior edges greatly. But here's a look from the inside. I think I got like 3 people just sitting in there comfortably. All right. Oh, here's a good point too. That's not only a fan, that's a light fan combo, right? Has lights built into it. There's the little light for the reading light, that's on and working. This is the waterproofing, basically building paper. Big blanket of plastic, basically, that helps keep water off of anything that does not like water, like wood. We sheathed it with aluminum. We just had a bunch of extra aluminum panels laying around, so we just cut those to size. That was a fun lesson. Here's the kitchenette starting to take shape. Right. Everything that you see here was planned and designed way beforehand, right? You can see how Dean Abernathy here is leaning up against this countertop, right? That was designed to be at that specific height, right? Some comfortable cooking height. If this thing was level, right? You want to be able to, just like in your kitchen at home, you want to be about 36 inches above your ground level, right? Well, we could have made that level anything we wanted to, but we chose something very intentional. Here's our little pass-through, right? You can say hello to your guest inside. Here we are cutting the aluminum with the track saw. He's probably not happy with me just taking photos. But here we are installing the door. Endless nights working on this project. This is literally, these are photos the night before that camping trip. Like right before we took off early in the morning. This is like, what time is this one? This is at 9 p.m. I think we left around 4 a.m. We finished that project at 4 a.m. that day. Got it up to Joshua Tree at 9 a.m. Look at this door too. It's got a little window built into it. And then even the window probably has a little screen, right? A little mosquito screen. Oh, where's the video of us shoving it through the doors? That was impressive. All right, look how gigantic this thing became, right? We saw it previously where it's just panel and another panel. It's like a huge refrigerator now, right? And although we can fit it through our garage door on the inside of this building, there's no garage doors to get outside. There's just double doors, just regular old double doors, which had, I think, like a probably 6-foot opening width. Less than that, because you have to account for the doors not being like fully opened and having the grab bars on it. So I'm kind of bummed that the video's not here. That was interesting to see. Oh, one thing we did have to do was take off the cool new bigger off-road tires and put on the small little dinky ones that came with it. And I guess they were flat, just so we can actually push it all the way through. Right, because the new off-road tires were wider. All right, so don't ever build your camper trailer inside this building. All right, that's our lesson learned. There it is. I'm so bummed there's no video. There's probably no video because we were all hands-on with shoving it through the doors. Like you could see us out here with it. Yeah, yeah. Those tires give another 6 inches on either side. Right. We're putting the tail lights on it. These are just temporary trailer tow hitch lights that you could buy at like whatever U-Haul store. You know, they'll just sell these. So those are not the best option, but it worked. And here we are. Later, just a few hours later, out in Joshua Tree. Now the part that we really did not finish was the back. We definitely didn't get the hatchback door opened. But here's a shot of the interior with all the camping equipment inside. Big, nice, comfy, queen-size bed. Something good for your back. Plenty of room for storing all your other stuff. By the time you get to your campsite, you probably put some of those things in the back anyways. Okay, here's the back of it, unfinished. That's just 2 sheets of plywood. Yeah, yeah. So we actually also had to bring some screwdrivers so we can, because we screwed this plywood on there, and to access it, we had to unscrew it off. And that's what it still has to this day. We never got that done. Once the semester ends, you kind of don't want to revisit your old projects, do you? All right, but here it is. Sort of like how I visualized it. All right, this cute, tiny little thing. Comfortably fits 2 people. There it is at our campsite. There's the little kitchenette in the back with a little Jackery battery, little storage bins. Dean brought his guitar to serenade us. And there's my rendering. So pretty close, right? Now I had imagined we might have more time and maybe would cover it up in vinyl with like some green camo color, or maybe put some little gaskets or bumpers on the edges, but didn't get that done. Didn't get the door done. This is an idea of that solar water tube that I was talking about earlier. Just big black tube, fill it up with water. And then because it's just sitting in the sun constantly as you're driving around and as you're parked there, the sun is just warming this up for you, right? So you can take a nice warm outdoor shower with this thing, right? You need a little shower curtain for privacy, maybe. And then if you pressurize it, then you actually have pressured water, which is kind of nice, kind of a luxury. We also had an idea for a drawer in the back, in that void space, but took too much out of us to finish that much of it. But anyways, there's the project. Bless you. So you have what you need. I'll leave this recording. I'll link this recording as soon as it's uploaded on YouTube. And then the next assignment that we're gearing ourselves towards, and I'll go ahead and release that assignment as well. So go ahead and refresh on your Canvas pages. This one, assignment 8.0, will be due next week. Okay, 7.0 is due tonight. 8.0, you're going to start to 3D model your small camper trailer in Rhino to the best of your abilities. We've already had a few Rhino exercises. We've done some 2D stuff. Now we need to start in jumping into Rhino and utilizing those skills that we have for practice. Yeah, did you have a question? Okay. All right. I'm going to get recording here. I'll post it as soon as I can.